Just to say thank you to Councillor Lawrence Fallon, to Geraldine and to Tommy as well. They've been so active, I know, this group, over the last number of years, and it's just been so traumatic. A public meeting was held earlier this year. Hundreds attended, and it just showed the impact to the communities all across Rahara, Bala, Lisfalem. I mean, it's just... There are so many communities that are under threat with this, and families that are just been pulled apart, as Tommy has noted as well. With the public meeting, a lot of the public representatives that were there, we all attended and we all listened. And action is really what the committee here wants to see. I suppose it was good to see with Minister Patrick O'Donovan that we were able to hold a meeting in July of this year, and I know that there's a further progress update that Minister O'Donovan has committed to on the 10th of November, so I look forward to that with our other public representatives here, and with yourselves, that we will be able to hear what the updates are. I suppose from my understanding there is engagement between OPW officials and Roscommon County Council on the ground, that they're engaging on the ground in terms of the activities there at the moment. But for the community at large, obviously you're seeing the rising water levels at the moment. Can I ask if you can give any detail on the rising water levels at the moment, maybe in the last week or so, if that's okay, Councillor Fallon? And maybe if I might ask Tommy as well. Tommy, as a farmer, and we're here in the Agricultural Committee as well, the destruction of land, the destruction and loss of sort of supports, farming supports, has been absolutely devastating. I suppose if I asked you, what are the farmers in your area, what would they say if they were here and you're their representative? Gurmagad. Councillor, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator, for your contribution. Just to your direct question about the rise in the waters, maybe just for the benefit of those who are not that close to the lake, I might give you what I would call would be the base level of the lake that should be in the month of October. Normally it would be 63.5 on the Northern Survey map. In 2016 it was 26.8, 2017 it was 65.7, 2018 it was 65.75, 2019 it was 66, 2020 it was 67, 2021 it was 67, and 2022 it was 66. So but the bottom line I'm saying there, the Turlough has never emptied, and it's now on balance 3 metres higher going into each winter than it should have been pre-2015. Just to give you a measure of how fast it can change. The Turlough has the capacity to go down at about 3 inches, 75 mils a week in very dry weather, but in the last week it has risen by 100 mils. So it can rise much faster than it goes down, and it is very worrying that it's rising just now at the rate it's rising at, because land is waterlogged across our part of the country as well. Just want to make the point, if I could, from an environmental point of view, this is as serious as it is from an economic point of view and from a family hardship point of view. Everything in the lake is dead. There's nothing alive, and to give you an example of how serious the death of the lake is, there was 200 acres of reed beds, which are most sturdy and hard killed. They all have died because of the permanent loss of permanent water in the lake, which isn't allowing anything to happen. All birds have left. Hooper swans are gone. We had a lovely flock of eaglets who came about 10 years ago. They nested, they rested in the trees on the islands. The islands are flooded, the trees are dead, and they have left as well.
So it's no longer a functioning SAC. It's no longer a functioning special area of conservation. It's absolutely not a functioning SAC now, because even if you take one of the designations it had, there was a percentage of rare plants that grew around the perimeter of the Turlough, and they were designated as being extremely important, and one of the main causes why it was designated. They cannot be flourishing now because where they were growing is under 2 metres of water. But I would have to say that we want to register our disappointment at the lack of any support coming from those who are protecting the SSE before this. They have done no assessment on the damage done, in my opinion. And they were the people that were in charge of ensuring that we as farmers looked after the Turlough and the SAC. And they were there as the representatives of the government and as the representatives of the EU who designated as an SAC. Since the flood came, they have disappeared. And I would think it is at least accepted that the National Parks and Wildlife should have done a study to see what is in the lake 7 years after the first crisis developed. They haven't done that, and I think it's an abdication of responsibility.
And I think if the EU was to see what has happened to our Turlough, it would immediately question whether we have the equivalent of another Derry brine or not.
Well,
Tommy Carney gave you information about how we are penalised as farmers.
Yes.
And I would say rightly so, because we overstated the land we had due to the flooding. But we took advice from the National Parks and Wildlife as to what we should do to maintain the SAC. As soon as a problem became one that wasn't of ours, they disappeared, and it's a disappointment.
Yeah, and Councillor, as you said, I mean, landowners in the area are custodians of that land for future generations, and currently it is not a functioning special area of conservation, although seen as a Turlough. I suppose if I might bring in Ms Geraldine Murray as well, and just Mr Carney as well for Tommy to come into, but Geraldine, just I suppose around that, the NPWS, National Parks and Wildlife, I know that, you know, with the commencement matter that we had here, you know, they stated that it's still currently at Turlough according to their official reviews, but however there's been no assessment done of the current impact with the flood zone. And I suppose the question is, how do we restore this to a functioning SAC and also restore the farmland and protect the homesteads in that area as well? Would you have any other comments to make on that? Yeah, well, I think the most obvious way of restoring it to an SAC again is to bring the water levels down a little bit, because it's the extreme high water levels that has destroyed all the flora and the fauna and all of that. So I think if the solution is there, the pipe is 2/3 of the way towards fruition, if I could put it like that. And I think we need to start ensuring that the pipe is activated as soon as possible to take the excess water off Lough Winchnook and thereby allow the birds perhaps to come back, or the fauna and stuff like that to grow. Thank you very much, Geraldine. And Tommy, I don't know if you have any other comments to add just on the farming perspective.
Yeah, all I would like to say to you is that the farmers and my neighbours, friends around the Lough are in awe of the very possibility that one home has gone this summer now, and more homes are likely to go. A job is 2/3 complete. It is just at a standstill. And apart from the damage to the environment, the sheer pressure that's on those people now, and myself included, from now until the end of March, you spend your time watching the weather forecast.
Oh, sure, it's sleepless.
You spend your time looking out the window when it comes to a certain level. What way is the wind? How strong is it? What direction is it going to come from? And you're totally, as I said in the end of my piece, we're totally at the mercy of the weather. It is no circumstances in which to live.
Look, I just want to say thank you again for our witnesses coming before us today. We need to get further updates, I know, from OPW and from all stakeholders involved here, but it is crucial that we come to a solution, and if that solution is one that needs to be planned over the time ahead. So I look forward to hearing those updates with yourselves come the 10th of November. Thank you very much, and thank you, Cathaoirleach, for your generosity with starting the session. Thank you.